Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the Majority Rules podcast. This week, we're going to talk to Coach Beckett of the cross-country team before they head off to regionals for this weekend. Jordan, we got some shout-outs to give for some people that were honored in the conference.
Yeah, man, we had a pretty good week this week. Volleyball kind of wrapped themselves up, and Olivia Danis made all sportsmanship team, and Allie Bear made all honorable mention team. From the football standpoint, wasn't a great weekend for them. They did lose, but Grant Bizjack earned another all offensive SAA honor. I believe that is his fourth
offensive player of the week.
And from the girls basketball side of things, started off the weekend 2-0, and Elise Warren won co-athlete of the week honors, averaging a double-double in both games. I believe she had 10 and 18 in the first one, 11 16 in the second one, I think.
Something like that.
So congratulations to all of them, and keep rolling.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into a quick word from Farm Bureau Life Insurance, and then we'll get into it with Coach Beckett. Hey, Millsaps fans, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company is a proud supporter of Millsaps College athletics. Just like the majors get ready for big plays, life insurance can help you get ready for whatever life throws your way. We offer life insurance coverage that could be a great fit for you and your family. Contact your local Farm Bureau agent to learn more about your family's needs today. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, your friends for life. All right, let's dive into it. We are here with Coach Beckett. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to dive into your story, how you got into running, how you got into coaching, and then how you ended up here at Millsaps.
Okay. Well, how I got into running is I kind of grew up in a running family. My dad was a runner, a triathlete, so I grew up watching him run, and just kind of thought, I played all the high school sports you can play. Didn't have much of a track team, didn't have cross country at all at my high school, really small high school, but I kind of ran on my own, enjoyed it. So I kind of knew all along I loved to run. And had a passion for it, and loved watching him compete as well. So that kind of led to, I guess, kind of how I got into coaching and coaching runners. I started out in strength and conditioning, so I was in the weight room right out of college. Had a grad assistantship at Ole Miss. And then that led to a full-time job at Illinois State. And at Illinois State, I really started working with track and field on the strength and conditioning side. And I didn't really know, you always think football, baseball, basketball, right? It's what I grew up playing. Didn't really know how much I would like coaching track and field and cross country in the weight room. So that kind of led, a little bit more to that passion, I guess, so to speak. Came back to Ole Miss full time several years later and became the strength coach for track and field at Ole Miss. Was really challenged by Coach Walker at the time, the track and field coach, of how to train runners as opposed to maybe some other sports. There are a lot of similarities, but there are a lot of differences too. So really kind of shifted my focus more to working with runners and what they needed. As quick as I can on my story into getting here. We went to Birmingham, Alabama. For my wife's job, I ended up working at Andrews Sports Medicine in Birmingham. I was their sports performance guy, a lot of injury prevention. Well, injury prevention kind of, again, turned towards a lot of runners, right? A lot of lower body, leg injuries, overuse injuries, and those kinds of things. So ended up spending a lot of time with runners and triathletes. I got into triathlon myself, started training myself, and then everything just kind of kept building on kind of the direction that I was headed. Got back to Oxford a couple years later. My kids were in school. There was not a lot of sports at the school they were going to. I volunteered my time, started a bunch of programs, became the athletic director, and so kind of worked myself into the job, right? But really quickly had success. Our track and field cross-country programs, we won 10 state titles in about a 7-year period. So then I really wanted to get back to the college level, but I really wanted to be at like a smaller, Division III type level. That's kind of what I was looking for. I'm from Mississippi, so I knew of Millsaps, didn't know a lot about Millsaps, but I had a cousin who went here, so I knew about it, and so when the job was available, I jumped on it. So that's kind of how I got into running, coaching, and then how I got to Millsaps.
What part of Mississippi are you
I
from?
grew up in Bruce, Mississippi, real small town just
Yeah.
south of Oxford, so North Mississippi. Spent a lot of time at Ole Miss and in the Oxford area.
So, obviously, I'm not a runner. I don't like anything about it.
Yeah.
But do you teach when you're trying to, prepare your team and everything like that? Is it more of a mechanics and technical aspect of it, or is it more of an attitude standpoint, like the will and the want to?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is it's both. I mean, obviously, like any sport, right? There are fundamental aspects of it, right? However, I will say probably a little bit less, maybe more side on track and field side, but on the cross country side, you don't. I don't want to say you don't mess with their mechanics, so to speak. You do, but most people we're just all built different, right? So we all run a little bit differently, and your body is pretty smart. It can be pretty efficient. On its own. And so, yes, we make slight changes, but most of the time the way you run is the way you run, and we just try to find ways to improve that. So to your point, it's a lot of the mental game with runners, intrinsic motivation, especially with cross-country distance runners. You're not in a box, right? You're not on a court. You're not on a field where everybody's right there and you're kind of everybody can see whether you're giving effort or not. So you have to rely on your runners really to be out on a run and giving the effort that they need to give. You can instruct them on what you want them to do, but ultimately they have to carry that out because you're not right there all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, so let's dive into your team this year. We mentioned you're about to head to regionals. That's really super exciting.
Yeah.
But let's fast forward to the beginning of the year. What were you looking forward most to coming into this season?
Yeah, great question. Probably looking forward to was just having probably 6 to 7, 8 guys together, a brand new group, a lot of freshmen, some sophomores who, and one junior, but technically a sophomore runner, right, because he had been injured. So they were all freshmen to me. When you think about it being new and them all being new, I tell them all the time, like, y'all are all freshmen to me, right? I think it was just kind of building that culture with such a young group. And then kind of excited and nervous at the same time of what are we ultimately going to have, right? What will it look like by the end of the year? So I think it was just that newness, building that culture, trying to bring the group together, kind of see how they came together was what I was excited about. So.
And I'll add to Sam's question. How has that changed or gotten better throughout the year? Like, how has your view of the team change throughout the year, and like what you need to do, what you don't need to do, and things like that?
Sure. I was I guess pleasantly surprised at how quickly they did come together. They wanted to train together. Hernandez has been great as kind of the older guy, so to speak. I say they were all freshmen to me. He does have some experience, right? He has been fantastic of kind of being the leader. Whether he wanted to be or not, and I'm not saying he didn't, but it was just automatic. He kind of became the leader, really pulling those guys together. So it wasn't all on me. It's great as a coach to have a team, to have kind of team led, captain led, so to speak, is good. That's a good thing, right? Yeah. Where it's not all on you as the coach, and he's done a fantastic job. I would say just over the year, I don't know that it's changed. It's just built on itself, right? They became closer. Obviously, Millsaps is a small place, right? So we get to know each other not just on the track and out on the grass, but we get to know each other all across campus. And so they've really come together, a pretty tight group. And I guess, what that does lead to, though, is in the future, if this small group stays together and we build over the next couple of years, it's just continuing to build that culture as we add more people, because every year you add more people, right, to get them into that culture. I think it will become easier for them to come in, see our attitude, how hard we want to work, what our goals are, and just kind of fall into place.
So let's dive into this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
the people that you're taking up there, what you're looking forward for them, as this is a big time thing for them. As you mentioned, a lot of young guys getting to travel, getting to hop on a plane. We don't get to do that a lot. We don't get to do that a lot here.
That's right.
Get on a plane, go to Virginia for regionals. So let's just dive into that.
Okay. Yeah, so this group, again, being so young, really one guy, probably has truly had a real regional experience off of this team, and that was one time. So everybody's going into this pretty new, including me, right? I mean, in this role, right, this is new to me as well. So everything along the way has been new. Putting on a college jersey, moving up in distance, that's a whole nother thing, right, for these guys and I am just taking the guys team, obviously, on this trip, is moving from a 5K up to an 8K distance and those things. So the biggest thing, I think, is giving them that experience, right? So I don't want to say, hey, we're not going to compete. That's obviously every time we step out there, we want to compete. We want to give it our best. And I think this will be our best race just based on, they got through conference, so they kind of got those jitters out of the way of a big time meet. Now move to the next big time meet, and I think they'll handle that really well. I mean, I have high expectations for this week, but I think at the end of the day, it really is about having that experience, so that as we build this program, we bring the next group of guys in. That this is not our first time to go to regionals, right? We don't have wide eyes next year when we go to regionals. Yeah. We kind of get that out of the way this year. Again, I don't want that to sound like we're not going to compete. We are, but there are other things that you win, right? It's not just about winning the race. It's you have these other wins in there, and that will be one is hey, let's go feel that pressure, that competition, so that next year and the next year we know what we're walking into, and we can truly try to podium at some point in the future. So
so from a recruiting standpoint, obviously you can't watch somebody in high school run the whole time.
It's hard,
because you can't follow them around for a 5K like you were talking about. So is it mostly time based? Like, what are you looking for to when you're looking to recruit a high school athlete?
Yeah, great question. I'll try to make the answer as quick as I can.
You can take as long as you need to.
Times are very important. Okay, so I don't want to shy away from times. I do. I guess I would say I'll start with times to give me at least a range of, because there's thousands and thousands of kids out there running, right? So you have to narrow it somehow, some way, right? So obviously, we want good students first, right? So that's kind of a given here, right? So they've got to be a good student. Times, I try to put a range on it. But I also keep in mind, and I try to talk to coaches about what courses were they on, those kinds of things, because every course, the weather's different, every state's a little different. You got hills, you got flats, you got all these things, right? So I don't want to put so much focus on times, but you have to narrow your focus somehow. So yes, times are important. But also what program they're coming out of, what kind of training have they had in the past, right? So do I think that if they're a 17-minute 5K-er, well, if they've been in a great program and have had great coaching, and so I know that they've been given all the tools to have a 17-minute, so that means they probably don't have they're a little bit closer to their ceiling than others, maybe, right? That's not a bad thing. That just means they're more trained, and that means they probably can come in maybe a little bit more prepared. But I also, there's tons of schools out there that don't have, great cross-country coaching. They have, people who are trying their best. Sometimes it's parents and those things because it's not one of your main sports. Yeah. So I have to keep those things in mind too, where maybe a 19-minute 5K guy has tons of upside, right? So you have to ask a lot of questions. Like, what has your training been like? You're a really good student, so I'm interested in you, but what's your training been like? And do I feel like I can take them from maybe outside the range that I'm currently looking at into the range that I'm looking at? Maybe they're a second-year contributor, a third-year contributor, as opposed to maybe a first-year contributor. So a lot of different factors go into that.
And I'm going to assume that you're a pretty good guy on reading somebody's, I like to call it firewall or whatever, whether they're being real or they're being fake with you on the training.
I certainly hope so. I try, you hope you are as a coach who's trying to build a program and keep a program, going in the right direction. You're looking for competitiveness too, and that's another thing. And I think that's where you have to be able to read people. Is like, do they truly want to come in and work? Because running is such a not every sport is. I don't mean to make it different or better or anything like that, but it is definitely a process, right? Like it is, and it's not always this perfect linear progression of, you move from an 18 to a 17 to a 16 on a 5K in high school. There's ups and downs. There are injuries that happen. There are mental stresses and those things that go into it. So having to, being able to find out who wants to compete and push through those tough times instead of kind of shying away from those tough times, because they're coming, right? They're coming at some point in their career if they haven't had them already. So kind of being able to read that as well.
So you just want to take a moment and touch on the guys that you're taking up there. Give us a little bit about them, because we're not due to time constraints with me traveling and editing. We don't have time to get one of the athletes in. So just touch on each one of them a little bit that you're taking up there.
Okay, so this trip, I kind of have narrowed it down to 5 guys that we're going to take with us, which you got to have 5 for a scoring team, right? A couple of our other guys, I'm letting them go ahead and move towards track, indoor and outdoor track, and get ready for that, because they're a little bit more on the faster, I should say more of a sprint style. They've just been part of our team, right? So really focusing in on 5 guys. My Greer Hernandez, obviously, is our leader. Ended up being our top guy at conference after coming back from an injury. So it takes a little while to come back from that injury. He was kind of in the middle of the pack most of the year, but really kind of stepped up and was that leader and that guy you could really count on when it came down to the big meets, right? So I don't expect anything different from him. He's been great. Phil Antis is another sophomore that will go. He'll be our 5 most of the time. He really is more of a track guy. He'll tell you that. But he's a good distance runner as well. He's really well-rounded. So he kind of is on the back end of our group, and just a rock, on that back end. And then some freshmen, right? So Dallas Stricker, guy that I have known for years, coaching in high school against him. It was kind of one of those things, like, I'm tired of going against that guy. He's been a problem for me as a coach. So I'm glad he's on my team now. Has had a phenomenal year. Dev has had a great year. Those guys. Mason's had a great year. So Mason Castleberry, Devian Hart, those other guys. And so, just the progression that some of them have made has been pretty incredible. Coming in as freshmen, y'all know it's not easy to go to school here. It's demanding, right? So sometimes I have to step back, right, and say, man, not only did they come in and run well as freshmen. I mean, Dallas and Dev have gone back and forth as bounced back and forth, being number 1 in a lot of the meets. Kind of going back and forth, and but the fact that they've been able to come in, be counted on as freshmen, like really counted on towards the front of the pack. Also, with the class, first time in college, right? And you're a freshman with a fall sport. Like, you just jump right into it, right? There's no adjustment period, right? They've handled that really well. And Mason came in with a little bit of an injury over the summer, and so came in maybe a little bit behind, and man, has just been steady and just slowly getting better and better. So really excited about those freshmen. Unfortunately, I have one more freshman that's fantastic, but he's battled a little bit of an injury, so he's not going to go. Ben Sylvie. So, but just really proud of that group. I can't wait to see them as sophomores and juniors after what they've been able to do as freshmen, and they'll have that adjustment period of jumping into school next fall, right? And it won't be quite as big a deal, and it won't all be new to them anymore. So we're just gonna, the times are gonna show that. So just super excited about that group. Yeah.
So what does an off season look for these guys? Like, is there technically an off season?
That's a great question. For these guys that we're talking about going to regionals, there's really not an off season for them, right? Because I guess you would say summer, but we're talking about they jump in, they're kind of preseason in the summer for cross. They get here, we're full go into cross. We go right into indoor season. As soon as they come back, they're going to get a couple weeks, finals, a little bit of a break. They go right into indoor season, and then we go. There's literally the same weekend as the final indoor is the first weekend of outdoor. So there's absolutely no break at all. So these mid-distance runners really have, you can call their summer their off season, but they really can't stop, right? Yeah. So the training might change a little bit. We're trying to peak for these meets a little bit. The training looks a little different. In the summer it looks a little different, but man, they're training pretty much year round. So not a lot of break. Yeah.
just off the top of my head, since you were in strength and conditioning,
Yeah.
do you do the strength and conditioning, or does Coach?
We still lean heavily on our strength conditioning staff. Right. That's a resource that I believe in, right? Yeah. Because I was part of that world, right? I believe in that resource and to allow them to do that. I think where my background and maybe knowledge comes in is on some of the injury prevention stuff. So we have a day during the week that we meet outside of the weight room to do some injury prevention, some plyometrics, some body weight strength type stuff that is very much focused on keeping runners healthy. Yep. So they're getting the strength aspect in the weight room with our strength staff, which they do a great job. And then with me, we hit some things that I've learned just over my different, I guess, careers in the coaching aspect that we hit that, they might not do in the weight room because I'm a runner, right? And so I have a little bit different perspective on it. So we try to do some of that, and I don't do enough of that. I need to do more of it, honestly. But we do lean on them, but I do some things on my own. A lot of our warm-up stuff is built for injury prevention. Believe it or not, like they're doing a warm-up, but I'm building injury prevention movements and different things into the warm-up, so they don't even they know they're doing it, but they don't. On a daily basis, they're just warming up. So we kind of build it into our process during each day. So
yes, sir. Well, Coach, thank you for joining us. This has been great, and great luck this weekend. And we hope the best with safe travels and all that as well.
Absolutely, appreciate y'all.
Great talk there with Coach Beckett. A lot of great information for us non-runners of the world. Learned a lot there. What are your takeaways from that?
So obviously, outside looking in, they look a whole lot better than they are more together, I should say, instead of better than last year. And they look like they're in the process, as he talked about, of getting better each day and moving along with things. Obviously, I don't know much about it about the sport. So, like you said, it was good insight. I think I want to see how they adapt, because it's getting a little colder, like going up a little further north for it. I want to see if that plays a factor into it and plays a role into it. And but no, I think they're okay. I think, like I said, I always say that, but I feel like they're in good shape, and I feel like Coach Beckett and he's got a system, and obviously it's working for him, and it works for everybody else. Obviously, on the outside looking in again, we don't see a whole lot of it. But yeah.
Well, you want to give us a word from Capital Ortho before we close the day out?
Capital Ortho is proud to stand on the sidelines with Millsaps Athletics as your official sports medicine partner. Led by team physician and Millsaps alum / baseball legend, Dr. Tal Hendricks, our experts provide the care athletes need to recover faster, play stronger, and stay in the game. From injury prevention to comeback stories, we're here for every play, every athlete, every season. Capital Ortho, move better, live better, go Majors.
Again, as always, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, go Majors.
Go Majors!